Unit 1, Chapter 2, Migration. Types, Causes and Consequences. Ram Babu, working as an engineer in a Bhilai steel plant, Chhattisgarh, was born in the small village of district Bhojpur, Bihar. At an early age of 12, he moved to the nearby town Ara to complete his intermediate level studies. He went to Sindri, Jharkhand for his engineering degree and he got a job at Bhilai, where he is living for the last 31 years. His parents were illiterate and the only source of their livelihood was mere income from agriculture. They spent their whole life in that village. Rambabu has three children who got their education up to the intermediate level at the Bhilai and then moved to different places for higher education. First one studied at Allahabad and Mumbai and is presently working in Delhi as a scientist. The second child got her higher education from different universities in India and is now working in USA. The third one, after finishing her education, settled at Surat after marriage. This is not a story of only Rambabu and his children, but such movements are increasingly becoming universal trend. People have been moving from one village to another, from villages to towns, from smaller towns to bigger towns, and from one country to another. In your book, Fundamentals of Human Geography, you have already learned about the concept and definition of migration. Migration has been an integral part and very important factor in redistributing population over time and space. India has witnessed the waves of migrants coming to the country from Central and West Asia and also from Southeast Asia. In fact, the history of India is a history of waves of migrants coming and settling one after another in different parts of the country. In the words of a renowned poet, Firak Gorakhpuri, सर जमीन ई हिंद पर अक़वाम ई अलाम के फ़र्क काफ़ी बसते गए हिंदुस्तान बनता गया. The caravans of people from all parts of the world kept on coming and settling in India and led to the formation of India. Similarly, large number of people from India too have migrating to places in search of better opportunities, especially to the countries of Middle East, Western Europe, America, Australia and East and Southeast Asia. Indian diaspora. During colonial period, that is British period, millions of indentured laborers were sent to the Mauritius, Caribbean islands, Trinidad, Tobago and Guyana, Fiji and South Africa by British from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar to Reunion Island, Guadeloupe, Martinique and Suriname by French and Dutch and by Portuguese from Goa, Damandiu to Angola, Mozambique to work as a plantation workers. All such migrants were covered under the time-bound contracts known as Girmit Act, which is known as Indian Immigration Act. However, the living conditions of these indentured laborers were not better than the slaves. The second wave of migrants ventured out into neighboring countries in recent times as professionals, artisans, traders, and factory workers in search of economic opportunities to Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei, and African countries, etc. And the trend still continues. There was a steady outflow of Indian semi-skilled and skilled laborers in the wake of oil boom in West Asia in 1970s. There was also some outflow of entrepreneurs, store owners, professionals, businessmen to Western countries. Third wave of migrants was comprised professionals like doctors, engineers, 1960 onwards, software engineers, management consultants, financial experts, media persons from 1980s onwards, and other migrants to countries such as USA, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany, etc. These professionals enjoy the distinction of being one of the highly educated, the highest earning and prospering groups. After liberalization in the 90s, education and knowledge-based Indian immigration has made Indian diaspora one of the most powerful diaspora in the world. In all these countries, Indian diaspora has been playing an important role in the development of the respective countries. Migration. You are familiar with the census in India. It contains information about the migration in the country. Actually, migration was recorded beginning from the first census of India conducted in 1881. This data was recorded on the basis of place of birth. However, the first major modification was introduced in 1961 census by bringing in two additional components with place of birth, that is village or town, and duration of residence if born elsewhere. Further, in 1971, additional information on place of last residence and duration of the stay at the place of enumeration were incorporated. Information or reason for migration were incorporated in 1981 census and modified in consecutive census. In census, the following questions are asked on migration. 1. Is the person born in this village or town? If no, then further information is taken on rural or urban status of the place of birth. Name of district, state, and if outside India, then name of the country of birth. 2. Has the person come to this village or town from elsewhere? If yes, then further questions are asked about the status, rural or urban, of previous place of residence, name of district and state, and if outside India, the name of the country. In addition, reasons for migration from the place of last residence and duration of the residence in place of enumeration are also asked. In the census of India, migration is enumerated on two bases. 1. Place of birth. If the place of birth is different from the place of enumeration, known as a lifetime migrant. 2. Place of residence. If the place of last residence is different from the place of enumeration, known as a migrant by place as a last residence. Can you imagine the proportions of migrants in the population of India? As per 2001 census, out of 1029 million people in the country, 311 million, that is 30%, were reported as migrants by place of birth. However, this figure was 315 millions, that is 31%, in case of place of last residence. Streams of migration. A few facts pertaining to the internal migration within the country and international migration outside the country and into the country from other countries are presented here. Under the internal migration, 4 streams are identified. 1. Rural to rural. B. Rural to urban. C. Urban to urban, indicated as U to U. And D. Urban to rural. In India, during 2001, out of 315 million migrants enumerated on the basis of the last residence, 98 million had changed their places of residence in the last 10 years. Out of these, 81 millions were intrastate migrants. The stream was dominated by female migrants. Most of these were migrants related to marriage. The distribution of a male and female migrants in different streams of intrastate and interstate migration is presented in figure 2.1 and 2.1b, 2.1a and 2.1b. It is clearly evident that the females predominate the streams of short distance rural to rural migration in both types of migration. Contrary to this, men predominate the rural to urban stream of interstate migration due to the economic reasons. Apart from these streams of internal migration, India also experiences immigration from and immigration to the neighboring countries. Table 2.1 presents the details of migrants from neighboring countries. Indian Census 2001 has recorded that more than 5 million persons have migrated to India from other countries. Out of these, 96% came from neighboring countries. Bangladesh 3 million, followed by Pakistan 0.9 million and Nepal 0.5 million. Including in this area 0.16 million refugees from Tibet, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran and Myanmar. As far as emigration from India is concerned, it is estimated that there are around 20 million people of Indian diaspora spread across 110 countries. Spatial variations in migration. Some states like Maharashtra, Delhi, Gujarat and Haryana attract migrants from other states such as Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, etc. See Appendix 7 for details. Maharashtra occupied first place in list with 2.3 million net immigrants, followed by Delhi, Gujarat and Haryana. On the other hand, Uttar Pradesh minus 2.6 million, and Bihar minus 1.7 million were the states which had the largest number of net out migrants from the state. Among the urban agglomeration, UA, Greater Mumbai received the higher number of in-migrants. Intra-state migration constituted the large share in it. These differences are largely due to the size of the state in which these urban agglomeration are located. Causes of migration. People generally are emotionally attached to their place of birth, but millions of the people leave their place of birth and residence. There could be a variety of reasons. These reasons can be put into two broad categories. One, push factor, two, pull factor. Push factor, these cause people to leave their place of residence or origin. And pull factor. Pull factor means which attract the people from different places. In India, people migrate from rural to urban areas mainly due to poverty, high population pressure on the land, lack of basic infrastructure facilities like healthcare, education, etc. Apart from these factors, natural disasters such as flood, drought, cyclonic storms, earthquake, tsunamis, wars, and local conflicts also give extra push to migrant. On the other hand, there are pull factors which attract people from rural areas to cities. The most important pull factor for majority of the rural migrants to urban is the better opportunities, availability of the regular work, and relatively higher wages. Better opportunities for education, better health facilities, and sources of entertainment, etc., are also quite important pull factors. Examine the reasons for migration for males and females separately in figure 2.2. On the basis of the figure, it can be seen that the reasons for migration of males and females are different. For example, work and employment have remained the main cause for male migration, that is 38%, while it is only 3% for the females. Contrary to this, about 65% of the females move out from their parental houses following their marriage. This is the most important cause in the rural areas of India, except in Meghalaya, where reverse in the case. In comparison to these, marriage migration of the male is only 2% in the country. Consequences of migration. Migration is a response to the uneven distribution of opportunities over space. People tend to move from place of low opportunity and low safety to place of higher opportunity and better safety. This in turn creates both benefits and problems for the areas people Consequences of migration. Migration is a response to the uneven distribution of opportunities over space. People tend to move from place of opportunity and low safety to a place of higher opportunity and better safety. This in turn creates both benefits and problems for areas people migrate from and migrate to. Consequences can be observed in economic, social, and cultural, political, and demographic terms. Economic consequences. A major benefit for source region in the remittance sent by migrants. Remittance from the international migrants are one of the major sources of the foreign exchange. In 2002, India received 11 billion US dollars as remittance from international migrants. Punjab, Kerala, Tamil Nadu receive very significant amount from their international migrants. The amount of remittance sent by the internal migrants is very meager as compared to the international migrants, but it plays an important role in the growth of economy of the source area. Remittance are mainly used for food, repaying of debts, treatment, marriage, children's education, agricultural inputs, construction of houses, etc. For thousands of the poor villages of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, etc., remittance work as a lifeblood for their economy. Migration from rural areas of eastern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Odisha to the rural areas of Punjab, Haryana, western Uttar Pradesh accounted for the success of their Green Revolution strategy for agriculture development. Besides this, unregulated migration to the metropolitan cities of India has caused overcrowding. Development of slums in industrially developed states such as Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka. Tamil Nadu and Delhi is a native consequence of unregulated migration within the country. Demographic consequences. Migration lead to the redistribution of the population within a country. Rural-urban migration is one of the important factors contributing to the population growth of cities. Age and skill selective out-migration from the rural areas have adverse effects on the rural demographic structures. However, high out migration from Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and eastern Maharashtra have brought serious imbalance in age and sex composition in these states. Similarly, imbalance are also brought in the recipient states. What is the cause of imbalance in sex ratio in the place of origin and destination of the migration? Migrants act as agents of social change. The new ideas related to the new technologies, family planning, girl children, etc., get diffused from urban to rural areas through them. Migration leads to intermixing of the people from diverse cultures. It has positive contributions such as evolution of composite cultures and breaking through the narrow considerations and widens of the mental origin of the people at large, but it also has a serious negative consequences such as anonymity, which creates social vacuum and sense of dejection among individuals. Continued feeling of dejection may motivate people to fall in a trap of anti-social activities like crimes and drug abuses. Environmental consequences. Overcrowding of people due to the rural urban migration has put pressure on the existing social and physical infrastructure in the urban areas. This ultimately led to unplanned growth of urban settlement and formation of slum shanty colonies. Apart from this, due to the overexploitation of the natural resources, cities are facing the acute problems of the depletion of groundwater, air pollution, disposal of a sewage, and management of solid waste. Others. Migration, even excluding the marriage migration, affects the status of women directly or indirectly. In the rural areas, male selective out migration, leaving their wives behind, puts extra physical as well as mental pressure on the women. Migration of women either for education or employment enhances their autonomy and role in the economy, but also increases their vulnerability. If remittances are major benefits of the migration for the point of view of the sources region, the loss of human resources, particularly highly skilled people, is the most serious cost. The market for advanced skills has become truly a global market, and the most dynamic industrial economies are admitting and recruiting significant proportions of highly trained professionals from poor regions. Consequently, the existing underdevelopment in the source region gets reinforced. Thank you.